Hey guys, Martin here bringing you another Dragon Ball Z Dokkan battle video, and so today we did get some news update in the game, although not a lot was anything we weren't expecting or had already been announced already. The interesting thing is the fact that we did not get any information on any EZAs, which is strange because with the fact that the celebration is going to be ending, like as we go into this next week, this is basically the last week of the celebration, and then we should be expecting the next Dokkan Fest to release. I think over the past few years it's been anywhere between like the 1st and the 4th of October. So this upcoming week is the end of the Transcendent Dokkan campaign, obviously the renamed and reshuffled in the schedule Tanabata. And I think a lot of people were expecting something else to drop, because otherwise it just kind of feels like, I don't know, maybe to me anyway, it feels like we haven't got as much content as maybe we potentially have for previous Tanabata celebrations, or obviously the fact that we're coming off the back of some of the very big celebrations like the Global Dokkan campaign, which had a ton of EZAs and new units and things like that. Because we had this post from Proton, so this was after the last data download. This post was only made like 2 days ago, after obviously we had the information for the Broly EZAs added into the game and everything. There's a gap in the ID table, so essentially there's a couple of different options. We could get some new TURs and an LR EZA, or 2 LR EZAs. Now, obviously with the celebration coming to an end, it's unlikely that the new TURs are going to be like new units coming out, or if that's going to be the option, right? Because new TURs will drop, I guess, when the next Dokkan Fest comes out. Now, maybe that means that the next Dokkan Fest is going to release, and that gap is already in the ID table for them, and maybe sort of like Ginyu or Turles, they're going to have 2 banner units, and that would explain the 3 new TURs, but we would still be getting 1 LR EZA in that space. Or the other option is 2 LR EZAs. So ideally we're expecting something before the end of the celebration. I made a video, I think it was yesterday it went out, talking about various EZAs that I think we could see that tie into the theme of this celebration. So do go check that out and let me know over there what you guys want to see. But yeah, unfortunately, there is nothing today in terms of EZAs. As I say, take this with a pinch of salt, obviously, because sometimes we know in the past we see things that get added into the data, or there's like gaps in the files, which may seem to indicate that like a certain thing is going to happen, and then that thing doesn't happen, or like doesn't happen straight away. The biggest offender for that is like the a while back now, I think was even before the worldwide celebration last year, we had the thing where there was the update in the files that made it seem like the LR EZA for the Int Goku and Piccolo was going to be coming soon, because their like sprite thing for their damage, basically the thing that a unit gets when it EZAs, where like the damage has the extra outline around it and stuff like that, they got that update in the files. And so obviously that led to the speculation that's like, okay, well they're going to get their EZA soon, and then yeah, it's been quite a long time since that happened, and obviously their EZA has not yet materialized. So these gaps in the files, they could be, like I say, related to the Dokkan Fest that will be coming out at the end of the month, and so it could actually be unrelated to this celebration, and there actually aren't going to be any other EZAs, and this is basically it for the celebration, and we are wrapping it up in this coming week with the new stages that are coming out, which I think would be a little bit disappointing. Like, I wouldn't say the celebration has been bad overall. We've gotten some good units, we've gotten some good EZAs, but I definitely think it would be a little bit disappointing if we didn't get something else as well. But I guess we will have to wait and see. Now, in terms of what we actually did get in the news update this morning, we have the information on upcoming content. So literally all this is the 2 new stages for Super Battle Road, stages 5 and 6, which obviously we already knew about. They put this data in the news a while back, even down to like telling us the date that it was going to come out. So obviously the announcement of these new stages releasing should not be a surprise to anyone. we know that, I guess, I say we know, but obviously based on the banner artwork for the event, right? The fact that we've still got Kale and Caulifla, who we've not yet had a stage for, and then obviously Dragon Ball Super Broly is front and center, then yeah, we can only assume that the next two stages are going to be Kale and Caulifla together, and then Dragon Ball Super Broly. We talked about this on the podcast last night a little bit. Shout out to my boys Vilify and Minato, of course. I could see them doing something like Kale and Caulifla being a stage where you fight both of them together, like actual two enemies at the same time, to obviously take advantage of things like, you know, the LR Broly EZA having the AoE and stuff like that. That would be quite good. And then obviously maybe there are multiple phases. The first phase is you fighting like both of them at the same time. And then the second phase could be the two of them together, like the AGL LR or something potentially. Or it could even be something like both of them together in base in the first phase, and then both together as a Super Saiyan, or like Kale could be the Berserk, and then Caulifla the Super Saiyan 2 in the second phase. Like, I think it would work quite nicely if they were both multiple enemy phases, just for obviously the benefit of the release of the Super EZA for LR Broly. But yeah, and then of course the final stage will be the Dragon Ball Super Broly. Then we have Infinite Dragon Ball History, which I can't remember if that was previously announced, but Infinite Dragon Ball History is just one of those events that every now and then we get a new stage, and it is basically just like 3 stones, right? It's just a very straightforward, easy event. It was, I guess, considered originally when it released a longer form event, but because they haven't really ramped up the difficulty very much, a lot of the early phases are very easy to just get through in like one turn. So I definitely wouldn't consider it like a long event anymore. But even so, like just a fun little casual romp through, unless you're, you know, if you're a newer player, it could still be a little bit challenging depending on what the category missions are. But yeah, nice little blast through this for some easy stones. The thing is though, we don't know until we get the data download what the theme of the stage will be, right? Obviously the last stage we got was stage 37, which is versus female tournament participants. And obviously these events always include missions to use specific categories. Now, obviously, given the running theme of the celebration so far, and the fact that that's practically been the case for all of the other missions that have released, I would not be surprised if the categories were movie heroes and movie bosses, right? Because, you know, everything from like the Union Master to the Battle Hardened Formidable Foes, they've all been having missions for movie bosses and movie heroes. So I could definitely see that being the case for this new stage of Infinite Dragon Ball History, but obviously we will find out when we get the data download. Now, when it comes to the red zone, in terms of difficulty, I think the stages haven't been too crazy so far. Like, we've got the Pure Saiyans. So far we go up to stage 4, which is versus Kaba. So he's currently the final stage that we have. He's got, the first phase is very straightforward. He's a multi-phase fight, which is good for characters that need a little bit of time to get going. But his first phase is basically a joke, which is good because it gives you a chance to get those enemies built up, those units on your team built up. Then the second phase, he's got an okay bit of HP. His super does decent damage, but he gets a 50% attack buff on turn 2 and then a 100% attack buff on turn 4, which potentially can catch you out. Like, him getting a 100% attack buff means that that super attack hits pretty hard. Plus, I believe the buffs are permanent, right? So he gets that 50% buff, and then on turn 4, he's still got that buff in place, and then he gets another 100%. So obviously, as you get deeper into the event, like, he can hit pretty hard. I wouldn't say that, like, you know, he's the hardest fight in the game or anything, but just the latest stage that we have for the event so far has like a relative level of difficulty. So it'll be interesting to see how exactly they are going to ramp up for the final 2 stages, because of course the big thing, like, and I'm not the first person to mention it, I've seen other people talking about it, we joked about it on the podcast, but like, the last stage is going to be versus Broly, right? And this is the stage from the 7-year Red Zone, which obviously when the Red Zone first came out during the 7th anniversary, absolutely hands down was like the hardest event in the game. And it was very much a case of like, you needed, because obviously the 7th anniversary introduced 200% leads for the first time for JP, because obviously with the non-synced versions, Global had multiple 200% leads by the time the anniversary happened on Global. But This fight was an absolute menace, right? It was the hardest fight in the game, obviously in part due to the fact that that he has the AoE, which is kind of annoying, and disabled dodge. And of course, when the stage first dropped, you actually couldn't counter super attacks against bosses that disabled dodge. That was something that they added in an update later on. So obviously that made this stage even harder, because even characters like the Super Saiyan 4s that had released during that celebration, fusing into Gogeta, you couldn't counter his super attack because it just didn't work like that until they made that update. So obviously that's something that was a huge impact on the meta, but it would be very funny to see us come out of this celebration and the hardest fight in the game is Red Zone Dragon Ball Super Broly again. So just be back to the 7th year shenanigans all over again, which would be kind of funny. So I guess we'll have to wait and see. It'll be interesting. I think the hardest fight in the game is probably still Rose and Zamasu, but that is largely due to rotation locking being such an irritating mechanic. Obviously Rose does AoEs as well, but yeah, the rotation locking can sometimes essentially just be the be all and end all of like you are losing a run because of the way the rotations are locked in certain situations. So it'll be interesting to see how difficult Broly really is, whether he becomes the new hardest fight in the game. But let me know what you guys think down below in the comment section. What do you think the overall theme of the Infinite Dragon Ball history will be and the missions? Do you think we will still see an EZA coming in the data download? Let me know all your thoughts down below in the comment section. So that is going to be it for the video, guys. This has been the Masked Ningen. Smash that like button, subscribe to the channel if you are new. Check out the links down below, and I will see you all again soon. Have a good one.